All right, I'm going to walk the creek bed a little bit here. Bring my camera along here. And what I'm doing is just looking for pieces of limestone. Because, well, it started out with I have an obligation. I've got to do something with a woman's ashes that I inherited, and I knew this woman. And she's been gone now for about 8 years, but I've got her ashes. They were in my mom's care, and my mom passed on. So that's how it goes. I've contacted the Catholic Church twice, the diocese around here, and they said they'd call me back. They never did. So I figured I'm going to make a memorial for her, carve it myself. And I can do this. I'm certain of it. I've got the tools. I know what to do. And discreetly but honorably inter the ashes in an old disused graveyard not far from where she left this world, actually. But first, I'm going to call the Catholic Church again. It's not like I want to do this. It falls on my shoulders, so I'm not going to just take the easy way out and say some words and throw them into the creek or something, you know. Or I'll give her. My mom always said she deserved a marker. When she died, she had absolutely nobody. Nobody at all. No family. She had a brother she hadn't seen in years, and retired policeman in New York City, and he didn't want anything to do with it. Oh, look at this. We don't have gangs in this little town, so these must be the work of high school kids. Colorful. But, you know, I'm going to make her a stone unless the Catholic Church wants to help me out. She was a devout Catholic, as devout as she could be for somebody that couldn't get out of bed for like 10 years. My mother took care of her. Now see, I've got a Dremel and some other tools with the diamond bits where you can carve stone, and I'm going to try my hand at it. Really, I'm looking forward to this, like a new hobby. So I got the idea to do this when I was looking up how to carve limestone so I can make her a decent gravestone that fits in with the old 18th century ones where I plan to inter her ashes, which I don't think is a big crime or anything. It's just ashes in a rock. So it may seem weird, it is, but it isn't really. Part of life. And people used to do this all the time. They didn't leave it to strangers to do. And I knew the woman. She knew me, kind of. Much as, you know, she could. She was really suffered for a long time. But I thought I would look around here, just rocks like this one. You know, I want to carve some things like art, and you could polish it. I know how to polish them. I believe limestone polished makes marble. I'm not positive. I'm going to look it up. But I know how to polish and etch, grind, cut stone. I have the tools already, and I figure I'd make crosses, figurines, I don't know. Whatever. I need a new hobby. Well, they all look the same. These rocks. Don't they? They're gray rocks. I know where to get the limestone. It's way up north, Thousand Islands area, where my son lives. Has some of the best limestone in northeastern United States, or northern, forget, in the United States, period. Comes out of where my son lives up north. In fact, a couple of the towns up there are named Lime and Calcium, which limestone is calcium kind of deposited. And the only reason there isn't a whole lot of stone houses up there like you see around Europe is because, you know, when people built their homes there, trees were plentiful And it's a better insulating material, my understanding is, you know, for cold weather. So I got this one. I'm going to try something on this. And I plan to, yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into this. Which, honestly, that's a good sign because I have been really in a rut for the past 4 years. Really depressed. There's another one. Let's see what I can do with that. Make a little figurine out of it. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm going to try. There, I got two. And I'll take a trip up to my son's and grab a bunch of limestone. Drop off some Christmas gifts. Yeah, it's a good sign that I'm kind of excited about a new hobby for the first time in years, because I like to create. And I like to create on YouTube, and I like to create with my music. Go further up this creek, you get bigger pieces, really nice pieces. Some of them I thought were gravestones. And this is further down the creek, closer to the lake, which is that way. So, and the ridge, the mountains up there, as you can see. So obviously the bigger rocks are closer to the mountain. It's a good sign. I thought that, man, I'm getting back into my old self. You know, I'm out of the depression of heartache and grieving and being alone. I've come to terms with being alone. It's not such a horrible thing, really. It has definitely brought me closer to God. So has the grieving. In fact, losing my mom and losing Jen, like I did and recently, has really benefited me in some ways spiritually. I've come to places I couldn't have come to, I don't think, otherwise. In my prayer life, definitely. And I believe they're both fine. And if it be God's will, I believe we'll meet up again. I'm certain of it. Almost certain. I hope for it. And I ask for it. And our Lord is good. And our Lord loves relationships. And He loves love. And I know my mom's my mom. She'll always be my mom. And I saw her, and I know God has, my friend Charles here on this channel pointed out, really went a long ways to cheer me up after Jen suddenly died at a fairly young age. He said, well, God told you she was someone special for you. You know, so you just appreciate the time you have with this person, because it doesn't last, nothing lasts forever here. So I've come to understand with relationships, when people die that you love, or dogs or cats, whatever, you know, this is how it goes. Over time, at first you think of them suffering and dying, and at least with me, and it made me feel awful that I couldn't be there to help her. And then I'm darn glad I went on a prayer campaign for her. That was the right thing to do. Like warfare, battle campaign. I learned a lot through that. A lot. And I think it helped her. I really do. And she did appear to me a couple times. I'm certain it was her. I've thought it over. And I always come up that was definitely her. Once to tell me to move on with my life now. And the other time was to tell me she loved me. And with a sense of urgency and strength, she said, I love you. But with the passing of time, I don't think of her death. I think of her life. You know, I just think of who she was during her time here. And it reminds us, see, the rocks are getting bigger, of our own mortality. This one looks like a different shade. Nah, that's not limestone. That's granite. I don't know. I mean, this place is in a flood zone, so they dug this out. This was a natural creek, dry creek. But they had to do all this because this town used to flood periodically. And we really haven't had a flood here in a while. We had one a few years ago. But before that, they used to have some dandies here. Well, I think that's enough for a couple of little minor projects to get me started. You can buy rocks online for their rocks, but like quartz, some really interesting, like colorful stuff. Carve up for jewelry, crosses, pendants. I'd like to make figurines of soldiers throughout history. I think that would be cool, but I don't know if I'm that good. But it's something to shoot for. I mean, I can carve that stuff out of wood. I think it's like carving things out of wood versus carving things out of stone. Stone's a step up. That's just my own opinion. I haven't done it yet, so I don't know. I'm gonna turn around. And now this is kind of all new to me. It's not like I've ever gone out looking for rocks, unless it was just landscaping projects. I actually have a bag of rocks. I'm going back to my car. That Jen picked up when her and I were out walking in the state lands, and she's picking up these nondescript rocks. And I said, "What are you doing?" "It's just rocks like this." And she said, "No." She said, "These are special rocks." And she said, "You'll see." So I left it at that. See, I don't know the difference. What's limestone, what's not. I'll figure it out. Besides, I'm going to go up to my son's. I know that's limestone. I'm going to go up there maybe next weekend, God willing. Drop off a lot of stuff and pick up a bunch of limestone. So I still have her rocks. I got a bag of her special rocks. You know, maybe I'll make something out of those. They are a little unusual. They're quartz, I think, a lot of quartz. They're not like this. I don't know what this, I believe this is limestone, but I don't know. Well, I'll become the more knowledgeable at it. My new hobby. Oop. Camera adjustment. Yeah, my dog's buried over there. I was going to put a marker down for him, but maybe I will. It'll be another project. I wanted it because it's on in somebody's cornfield on the edge of it. Not somewhere that, so I didn't want whoever plants stuff over there to see a gravestone that says Puppy or Baxter. So, I don't think he needs a marker. He had a good life with me, as good as I could give him, and he's gone on to doggy heaven, or whatever God has for him. Which I believe personally, I believe the animals have souls. I regret to say I never used to think that. When I was a teenager, I still regret going out hunting just for the sport of it. I've repented from that since then. But, if you hunt for the meat, I'm not a vegetarian. You know what I'm saying? I think all life has some kind of spiritual matter, maybe even plants. I don't know that. But I have encountered spirits of cats and dogs. Not often, but I have definitely. And a few other people with me encountered the same. So it wasn't just me. Maybe I'll tell the stories of the animal spirits I've encountered. Different from the spirit hawks and the spirit eagle. Which to this day I still wonder about why or what's the meaning of all that? You know? But yeah, I've got a new hobby I'm going to get into. I got to tell you something about my candle making. I had a bit of a rude awakening with that as I was melting wax on my stove, and I forgot about it. I was just in the other room. That stuff lit on fire, like big time. I mean, it burned up. I put it out, burned my hands a little bit. This stuff burns like oil, like gas, once it ignites. It's paraffin. Yeah, I put it out, but I burned up the fan and light hood that goes over the stove. I had to replace that, $250. And some cosmetic damage. What? Crows. I got a funny crow story. My friend Tom, he acquired a wild crow that somebody gave him because he's had a crow before as a pet. And somebody found this baby crow in the road and they gave it to him. And he took care of it, and they're pretty interesting pets. They're dirty and they're very possessive. They have very strong personalities, crows. Seriously. And this crow, when it matured, I mean, it had no problems. It ate, and it became very attached to my friend. Follow you everywhere. It becomes possessive of people like him. They bond. They establish really strong bonds. And this crow, it became infatuated with, very attached to my friend's dog. He has a miniature Aussie Shepherd. Great dog, very intelligent, one of the smartest dogs I've ever encountered. Very, very great dog. And this crow became possessively attached to this dog. And if you went near the dog, the crow would buzz you. I mean, it would fly by your head like within an inch. And it would make threatening gestures until you got away from the dog. It was very possessive of the dog. It didn't let that dog out of its sight. It was really funny to watch. I wasn't the only one that thought so. There's a lot of people. We'd just go visit him just to watch the antics of this crow and this dog. But honestly, you know, dogs, you could tell their emotions somewhat by the look on their face. And you could tell by the look on this dog's face that it did not like the crow. It tolerated the crow. This dog definitely was not into birds, like for friends. So you could tell the dog just wanted to get away from this bird. But the dog put up with it. But I swear I'm telling you, these birds, the crows, have very, very, very strong personalities. And you could tell that the crow was put off by the way the dog rejected it. And the dog did not reciprocate. And the crow just flew off. I said, Tom, what happened to the bird? Oh, he just flew off. I said he got tired of being, snubbed, rejected by the dog. He says, yep, that's what it was. So yeah, I think animals have spirits, definitely. And what they do, where they go, that's up to God. I couldn't tell you. But it wouldn't surprise me if I meet my doggie again. And a few others. Who knows? I'm gonna find out. That's guaranteed. Probably sooner than later at my age and health. I've been really struggling with this. I've got long COVID. And the weird thing about long COVID is, like, today's a pretty good day. I'm out here I feel all right for the most part. But the past 2 days were awful. It comes and goes. It's really weird, long COVID. And it doesn't go away. It takes a while. It goes away eventually, one way or the other. But I've been dealing with that, and it's been a struggle. I tell myself, go to work. You've got to go to work. You need to keep working. Oh. Plenty of rocks here, huh? I found 2 just to try it out. Maybe I'll try to put my initials or carve a cross or a face in this. Something. Drill a hole in it. But the main thing is, I've got a new hobby. I'm looking forward to it. Getting into it. See it? What can I make out of this? Look at this rock. Wow, I could make something out of that. What can I make? A candlestick holder. I don't know about that. That'd be a lot of stone to remove, so I don't really know much about this. But like I said, I'm going to find out. God willing. I just thought it'd be a good day to get out for a walk. Yeah, plenty of rocks. I mean, I can go online and I could buy obsidian. Like I've got a obsidian black cross that I wear. And I could buy that for really cheap. Or green jade or all kinds of kind of exotic stone. But somewhere on earth it's not exotic because none of it's really expensive. You buy a bag of rocks, quartz rocks, for next to nothing. You like a big bag of obsidian, that's like $7 delivered. Something like that. Not much. Some of it's pretty cool, like tiger eye quartz. Yeah, grind it up and polish it. I had wanted to go camping out there with my dog this year. Oh my God, folks. I don't know if you've been through it or not, but I have gone through a deep, long valley. Losing the people I lost and my dog, which was getting me through. Just my dog. You know, he'd look at me with big eyes. Like, you know, his eyes spoke volumes like, Tim, I care for you. Tim, I'm worried about you. Tim, I love you. I used to come out here on my motorcycle. Well, fairly good fishing here. If you love carp. But occasionally you pull a trout out of here. I've made some of my videos here, actually. That one where I spoke about the demonic attack. I made it right here where I'm at. That was some real stuff, folks. I mean, lately I don't have much to talk about. But I'm telling you, I swear on my life, I didn't make any of this stuff up. And I've given it a lot of thought and prayer. And I don't do psychedelic drugs. And I've never been diagnosed as schizophrenic or off. But you can think what you want. I'm just one of those people that has these things happen. Somebody suggested that it's because I'm in the woods all the time. And I thought, I never thought of that. I am out in the woods quite often, like this. But I've known a lot of people in my life living rural like I do and serving in the military like I have for 20 years that spent just as much time in the woods as me or close to it. Close to it. Never had any of this stuff happen. Yeah, I was going to camp over there with my... There's a spot by the stream underneath an old apple tree. I clear it out. It's nice and, grassy like this. Walk up a little more. Nice out. Beautiful out. November day. I don't want to get shot. It's hunters too. Gotta be careful. I don't think it's deer season. Maybe bow. Get hit with an arrow. That would blow. Old apple trees. Yeah, this thing's right next to my mouth, so if you hear me breathing a lot, sorry, can't be helped. I have to breathe. I've got my rocks. The best things in life, huh? Simple stuff. I think. Timblab rock hunt. My dad used to hunt rocks when we were kids, but he was looking for turquoise, stuff like that, petrified wood, back when we lived up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he used to go up in the mountains, the Sandia Mountains, to do this stuff. Which is where I saw the angels. It would be like this stream. And my mom and dad were about from here to where that tree line is. Cooking out. I was like 5, my brother was maybe 4. And we were playing around in the water's edge, and he tumbled and went in the water. And there was a bit of a current, not much. My mother came at a sprint because he was yelling. Jumped in, grabbed him in her arms, and admonished me to stay away from the edge of the water, and took him back to my dad, who was still standing there by the barbecue. Couldn't get it started, and she started laying into him for not coming running, just standing there. She was like, how old was she then? 30. And he must have been in his late 40s, because he's older than her. But she left me standing here, and then I look up the stream, which would have gone that way, with mountains in the background, and there are those 2 angels. Man, you don't forget that. In shining white robes, standing in the stream, about as tall as these trees. I think they might have been like 20 foot tall, so I don't know. But they were right up there, pretty tall. And they were both standing in the stream, and these magnificent blonde hair, brown hair, standing side by side. They were looking down at me, smiling, making eye contact with me with a smile. Very loving looking, powerfully built. And I just looked at them. And that's to say they would have been about from here, to that edge where not far, about here where you see the grass up there, where the stream goes around. It would have been about from here to that end. They weren't far away. And I looked at them, and I knew instantly they were God's angels. I knew who they were. And it was so beautiful. I thought I knew it was not of this earth. It wasn't that. It was God's angels. And they were unearthly beautiful and pure. And I looked back and called my mom to tell her to check this out, and they didn't even listen to me. And of course, when I turned around, they were gone. And that was sad. I remember the sorrow, it's like my treasure. I just lost it. It just slipped through my fingers. I mean, they didn't look like clouds. They looked, full detail. I could see their hair. They had a belt, one of brown, one of green, around their waist. I could see the look in their eyes. They had a nice smiling gleam, smiling at me. I picked up their emotion, which was love and humor and familiarity, like they knew me. And I thought it was cute, me standing down there by that stream as a little kid. You don't forget that. I told my mom about it, and the dad didn't, neither. They didn't believe me. They didn't even care to hear about it. Honestly, they were too wrapped up in their quarrel, which didn't really go too far, just a disagreement when we left. And my mom was upset with him. I remember that day very well. I think God allowed me to remember that. I'm going to walk back to my car, go home. I mean, I live right over there. I walk here. It's where I used to walk my dog. I don't even know why I drove my car. I don't know what I was expecting to find. Well, I found a couple of rocks. I'm going to bring them home. They'll probably just wind up in the backyard. I don't know. I'm definitely going to do this hobby plant. But I told myself, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, and I'm going to share it with people. When I was 4 or 5 years old, that's to say my brother was 3 or 4. I told myself then, this is my treasure. I'm going to carry it with me my whole life, and I will share it with people. And folks, I've shared it with people. That first video I made of God's angels, I think I made this like, at this point, like 13, 14 years ago. That's got almost like 300,000 views. I've shared this with people. I've shared this with a lot of people offline. I've shared this with people my whole life, whether they want to believe it or not. Most people believed it. And I'll tell people, not as often, but I'll occasionally let people know about the demonic attacks I've had. Because I think a lot of Christians, people don't believe in the bad. They just think, well, they believe in the afterlife and angels and stuff. And they don't understand there is spiritual warfare. And evil definitely exists. God, I'm going to tell you something I saw today. I don't think it was anything evil. I was driving to Auburn. Went and got breakfast today at a place, Pavlo's. Really good breakfast. And I saw this woman standing on the corner, street corner. And she was just staring at me like evil eye, because I had to come up to a stop. And she looked like, if she's ill, I feel sorry for her. She looked like somebody that just was dug up. I mean, poor woman looked awful. And she looked mean. She looked scary, really scary. I mean, her clothing, her body, her face, her hair, the look in her eyes, just looked bad. Her skin. The white woman, black hair, looked like she's maybe 40, 45, kind of heavy, but disproportionate. I swear, she looked like a cadaver. And rotted clothes. God bless her. I'd say a prayer for her. But I actually looked at her and she was looking at me like evil. And I just went, I shuddered, drove off. But, I'm starting to think, I'm getting a little superstitious. But I think there's a lot of evil people around, honestly. Not a lot, but some. Stay close to the Lord. And when you get close to the Lord, you become a target. They want you. They want me too. God will have the victory. Like with this long COVID I got, which right now I'm dealing with it, but some days it's a struggle. It really is. I said nothing's going to happen to me that God doesn't permit. All things work for the good of them that love the Lord, which doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die of something someday. But I'm not thinking that's going to happen to me, but it could, at my age especially. It could. And so I just have faith in God. Whatever happens, whatever it is, He's got this. Doesn't make it. It still can be it's still a struggle. Some days and nights it is definitely a struggle. Well, Christ suffered. We all do. All right, so it's been a nice day for a walk. I don't know if anybody's listening to this at this point. God bless you each. I do think about y'all sometimes. My dog's buried over there in the corner of that field. Okay, take care.